we literally became homeless in Europe.
Hello, Munira. Welcome to the show. My name is Melta, and this is Inspire.
Hello, Emma. Hello. So nice to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Munira, when I was going through this segment, I noticed a lot of strength and inspiring stories, and that's the reason why I thought you should share this story to the world. And here you are. But before we proceed, who is Munira? Munira, please, would you introduce yourself to the viewers?
Okay, I am a mother of one and a mother of many. I am an entrepreneur. I own 2 online businesses. I am also a woman of faith. I am a pastor. And recently I founded an NGO, which is to empower the youth. So yes, I wear all these hats.
Oh, amazing. You really wear so many hats, and it's so inspiring indeed.
Yes.
Munira, from your story, you lived in Europe for a number of years, and later you decided to return back home. And this is a decision that most people really find it hard. Once they are in Europe, they think they don't need to go back to Africa to live there, but you did the opposite. How did that happen?
Well, let me take you a little bit back, Emma. Before I moved to the EU, I was a career person working in both corporate and international organizations. I had issues both in my marriage and also to do with my own personal health. So I was in marriage, I was undergoing through abuse, and there was a lot of violence. So I felt ill, and also felt the need of me to, just step away. So to travel and go and try and see how I can get help medically, but also to just separate myself from that relationship, which had really become toxic. So that was the
So
reason
you
why I traveled. Yeah, that was the reason why I traveled.
so you
And
traveled
when
to
I got
Europe.
yes,
You traveled to Europe because something wasn't right in your marriage and something wasn't right with your health, and you wanted something better than what you are facing at the moment, right?
yes. So when I arrived in Europe, I underwent. I had to go. I applied for a medical status, which was approved initially. So after approval, I was immediately booked in for an operation. So I went in for the operation, but the really unfortunate thing that happened was after the operation, I became really, really sick. I became very, very sick. So I was still following up on medical, and by this time, my son had joined school, so he was like settled in his, the Dutch system of learning. And I was also doing, different courses in languages, and so I took classes in French, I took classes in Dutch. I also did integration just to adapt to the systems of the land. Yeah, and so as we went on, I was also, following up medical, because after the operation, I became very lost strength, in my body. I lost weight, a lot of weight, and I became chronic anemic. So because I was losing a lot of blood. So as I was still following up on medical, doctors trying to see how they can solve the problem for me. One day I was invited to go for an interview. So when I went for the interview, they told me that the state has withdrawn my papers. So they took my orange card. That time I was having an orange card. It was not a permanent
And what is
card.
orange card?
Yeah, it was an orange card was is not a permanent card for permanent stay. So after every they give you like 6 months duration. So after every 6 months of expire, you have to go back to their offices for them to renew it again. So I used this card. I think for 2 years I was using this card, and then so they took away the car, they took away my son's documents, and from there, we were on our own. We were told I was given a document telling me that I can appeal against the decision. I had a period of time, like it was like 1 month, but after that, there were so many things that happened that really were against me getting the paper back. I went to my doctors. I talked to the doctor, and the doctor was not really cooperating for to just submit the necessary documents to my advocate. So eventually, I lost my home. I lost the help that I was getting from the government. I lost all that, and we literally became homeless in Europe. That was in 2012 because I got
So
the
if I'm to take
invitation
you
in,
back,
it was 2012, sometime in
yeah, if
March.
I yeah, if I would take you back, you had a home basically, though it was though you faced violence in your home, but you had a home and you had a country, you had a family, but you came to Europe thinking that things were going to get better. But when you came, you actually became more ill and you lost everything, and you eventually became homeless, right?
Yes, when we came to Europe, because I was someone who had already, in Africa, I had a career life. So I had settled down in my home and I had all my things. So when I came to Europe, the first thing I wanted to do was for me to settle down with a child because I had my son. My son didn't make the decisions of coming to Europe. I brought him. I did that. I made that choice. So my son was my number one priority, and he was my full responsibility as a mother. So when I came, the first thing they did when they gave me the papers was for me to settle down, and that is exactly what I did. I settled down. I got ourselves a nice apartment. It wasn't too big, but it was enough just for me and my son. And we had settled down. We had everything that we needed in the house. So it was like that. But when now they took the papers, you can imagine I had to now take out the things and put some in friends' houses in the garages. They offered me. So I had my sofas in another city and the fridge and then my beds somewhere else. And yeah, it was really bad. It was really bad.
I can I can imagine. I can imagine being a woman of career and find yourself being homeless. It's such I mean, it's hard to understand, but it happened, and you made a decision again to return back home after integrating in a country, after learning the language, after investing your time and your energy in the country, basically, because the time to learn the language, the time to take your child in a school, it was like a home to you already, but things turned up and you ended up going back home.
Yeah, and the unfortunate part was I came with my son to Europe when he was so little. So he adopted to the language and the system and everything about Europe. When you see my son today, he is European. He is not African.
Uh,
His mentality is European. So it was really tough for me to make the decision of coming back home because at the time my son was now in high school. He had finished the primary, the elementary, and now he was in the high school. So my intent was for me to wait until my son finishes high school. Then we would come home because back in Africa, like here in Kenya, we have very good educational institutions. So I knew eventually when we come here, as long as he's got his diploma, he can follow up career while back in the country, as long as he has the right papers. So, but eventually, because of this circumstances which were really unbearable, I decided to just come back home. I really didn't have much option. I decided to come back home.
Good decision, good decision. So from homelessness, now Munira is owning three online businesses. She's a founder of a big organization. How did that come? How did that happen? Because I remember recently reading your post on Facebook, you said, you young Africans, you've got to take your hands off pocket and you've got to get your hands dirty and serve your continent and serve your country. That was so inspiring, to be honest, and I loved it. I loved it. So could
Yes.
that be the reason why you decided, I'm going back to my continent, I'm no more homeless, I have my country, and I'm going to make a difference?
Yes, I think this thing just brought some good anger
Yeah,
inside of me. Yeah, it brought
yeah,
some this whole experience brought some good anger. I can put it that way because when I came back, I knew from the time when I was there in Europe, I knew I had already made it in Africa. It was not like I was stranded or I was desperate for anything. So when,
mm,
apart from me being having, a health situation, and I felt like everybody else in Africa always thinks that in Europe they have better, medical um, systems
systems.
than in Africa. But
Mm.
very ironically, I got my healing, complete healing, when I came back home in Africa. I
Amen.
Yes, I got healed right here at home. I
Yeah.
went. I went to really good health institutions, and they were able to sort the problem out for me. And I'm now back on my 2 feet. So I think the whole
That's
experience.
inspiring. Before we go further, sometimes we underestimate our systems in Africa, thinking that good things always come from the Western. But you came back home, you actually got healed. That's amazing.
Yes, I came back and I got healed, MA. But the thing, I think I was just, fortunate enough because when I
Yeah.
came back home, although I was sick, like I said before, I had, a good support system, including my
Yeah.
former employers, my former bosses. So when I called them and I told them I'm back in the country, they were eager. They wanted to see me. They wanted to see how I'm doing in life. And so I went to visit one of my directors, and I told him I'm looking for a job. And from there,
Mm-hmm.
I was given, I was appointed for this position and had a beautiful package. So I came and started working, and I had a family medical cover for me and my whole family, and I had many other beautiful things. So because of that, I was able to to go and get treated in a very good hospital. But that is not it's not often the case to most Africans, because many
All
people
right.
don't have such a privilege, you
All
understand.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
so for me, I think I was really, really fortunate that I was able to have this kind of people in my life who could really help me, for me to stand on my 2 feet again. And I'm forever grateful for that.
Oh, that's amazing to
Yes.
hear. And yeah, you came up again with an organization called Timiza. Would you please tell us a bit about that organization and how you came up with it?
Yes, I came up with Timiza when I came back home, because I had lived in Europe before. I came to Europe when this time of all these things that took place. It was not my first time in Europe. I'd been to Europe before. The first time I came to Europe, I was only 19. I was a young girl, and I came there to study. So I had been to Europe. I would I was although I was working in Africa, I would eventually, when I now came back home after all these experiences that I'd undergone through, or all these ordeals which were not so good, it was so easy for me to understand or to see the things that the African youths are lacking. It
Yeah,
was so easy for me to see it, that an African youth, especially the boy child, they are lacking something. They have been pushed to the corner, and they don't have any voice. And that is really what birthed Timiza, because I have a son, and I felt really it has to be me to do this job. So
So do you mean you had to compare the life in Europe to Africa to the life in Africa, and you saw the difference, and you wanted to impact young people in Africa compared to what you saw in Europe? If I'm right.
it wasn't even me comparing. It was so clear. It was so clear because the vacuum, I could see the vacuum. I have my a son, and my son, when we came back, he was only 17. So when we came back home, David, while he was in Europe, at that age range, they go to play basketball, they go to play football, and they only need to join a club and to do that, because all these things, facilities are there for the children. But in Africa, sorry, when we came here, it wasn't the case. We had to go around the whole city just looking for that basketball pitch for my son to
Those
play.
are the
Yeah,
um,
it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. So these are the things um, that birthed Timiza out of me, because I could see there was such a big vacuum that the boy child does not have much. He doesn't have much. So that can support him in his growth. So that is the reason why we started Timiza. The main vision for Timiza is to empower the youth, just like the name states. It's Timiza Youth Empowerment and Wellbeing. So we are empowering the youth, but we are
Timiza is a
also.
Swahili word, right? Timiza is Swahili word, which means empowerment, right?
Yes, it means accomplishing. It means to
All right.
accomplish. Yeah, so we are accomplishing our goals, but we cannot accomplish these goals all at once. We only have to do it step at a time, step at a time. And we have to identify the goals first before we can start working on one and being able to accomplish the goals. So, like I said, our vision is to empower the boy child, the youth, but also the girls, because there's a lot of training, a lot of education, a lot of mentorship. Okay, and our main interest is in innovation, because the world is going digital. So we are looking at innovation. Looking at creativity, agriculture, entrepreneurship, all these things. Yes.
And you know what? Having the youth involved in different activities, mostly those activities that generate income for them and their families, would be a great, thing to do, because there is human trafficking and modern slavery going on, and young people being in poverty is actually the main drive for them to be to like agree whatever the traffickers is telling them, or actually to be manipulated and trafficking.
Yes, yes. What I know about this, the youth, they do this. There's a saying which goes, people do desperate things, take
Yes,
desperate measures when things are desperate. So they don't do it because they want to they want to do. Most of them are just doing it out of desperation. But
that's
if
right.
they have an alternative, a better alternative, I'm sure no one would go la. Yes, and
Such as Algo.
yes, yes. And the beautiful thing about it is that the youth are really, really encouraged, and they're really motivated by it. So I don't really need to do much, as the visionary, because these guys are already running with the vision, you see.
All
So I'm
right.
so happy with that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really amazing. So again, we've all faced COVID-19, and we've lived with the consequences. We're still living with the consequences of COVID-19. But Africa, yeah, some people also are affected differently, and depending on individuals, depending on their maybe income or something. Some people are suffering, as others are just managing. So, in terms of Timiza and even yourself, how did you cope with COVID-19 and the consequences, and how are you still coping at the moment, and how did that affect the organization?
Yeah, with the COVID pandemic, it's affected the whole world. It hasn't spared anyone. Everybody has been affected by it, one way or another. So, but for me, I had already started this thing, like I said, end of 2019. So immediately when the year began, I had my goals. So I knew I was to start the page for Timiza, which I did. We have a group in Facebook on Facebook, and I was so encouraged because even though I didn't, I didn't have many people. I didn't know how to first how to approach them. The thing is, I would put, like an encouraging message or a post every day, because this thing
Right.
was inside of me, so it was giving me no peace. I could not, like in the middle of the night I would be thinking about it. So I would put up a post just to encourage the young people, and the response was very good. So up till now, the group has grown to 390 members. And it's not really about the young people, because the amazing part is even the young people's parents, they want to be a part of Timiza. You understand? So it's really wonderful. Yeah. So that was the case. But then again, the youth have been, they have been really, really affected by the pandemic, because most of them lost their jobs, those who are employed. Some have lost their homes, and some don't have food. They don't have money for food. They don't have, you know, money for upkeep. So us as Timiza, what we've been doing is to try and help them as much as we can. We try to see how we can help, and that is what we keep on doing. And sometimes helping is not really material, because, to do with material things. Sometimes it's just to talk to the person. There's a lot of depression. There's a lot of, of youth who are suicidal. So these are the things that we are looking at and trying to see how we can partner maybe with these big communication companies, providers in the future, so that we can have like a hotline where the youth can be making a phone call for free when they really
Mhm.
need that help. It can be, they can reach it. They can be able to be reached. So that is
So you
one
need
of the
a
things.
helpline. You
Yeah,
need a free helpline.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Eventually, we will have a helpline. Yeah. So
Mm.
the things that I've been telling the youth is to have a schedule, not to spend the whole day in bed, because that is how depression comes in. It drifts you slowly. It drifts you slowly into that dark place. So it's to having a schedule, a day on a daily a schedule for the day, then to exercise and to stay, just to
Mm.
stay positive. And when they
Oh,
come to the page, they will always find something positive there. So, and also going out for walks, because you get fresh air, and yeah, it helps. Like for my son, because he's here with me, I've tried to teach him in a few things here and there. And right now he plants, he has his own plants, by the balcony. He's planting onions, he's planting, just plants, and he's taking
mm.
care of them every morning and evening. He's feeding the
Oh.
birds, and just these little things that make you happy, make your soul happy. So you just do
And that
them.
is actually resilience. That's being resilient. Those little things, reaching out to your members through social media, reaching out them through contacting them through their mobile phones, encouraging them, having those activities. you build resilience without yourself. I mean, within yourself, and you build a strong resilience within the members. And I love that. That's very, very important. Otherwise, we couldn't really make it to this
Mhm.
day. Yeah, we all had to be resilient in one way or another, though we
Yes.
don't have the same level of resilience again. So again,
Mhm.
back to Timiza, what could be the gaps at the moment if someone would like to step in?
Well, the main gap that we have is, we're trying to see how we can establish offices. We can establish Timiza in all these countries.
Yeah.
So that way, the youth can come in. It's going to be like a communication center, where the Timiza offices are going to be. So the youth can
Mhm.
come in and they can have their cup of tea or coffee, or they can have a warm meal for the day for those who don't have any meal, and
Mhm.
also they can have free internet, so they're able
Yeah.
to check, they can browse for those who are looking for jobs, for those who are looking for scholarships and things like that. And also we'll have
Oh,
like a playground where they can play, as young people. They can play their basketball, they can play their football, they can do, different activities when they come there. So that is one way of really taking the youth from the streets, so that they don't do, they're not turned into, they're not lured into bad stuff. So that
oh,
is that is one thing.
amazing. Amazing. So how can one reach out to you if they have any kind of support, ideas? How can one get in contact with you
Yeah,
and the
at the moment
organization?
we had started. Anyone can reach us on our page. We have a Timiza page, a
Right.
group on Facebook, but we're also creating a page. It's still under construction, but
Mhm.
we also have a fundraiser. The fundraiser
Mhm.
is on Go Get Fund. So I
Right.
think I can just share it with you later, so that you can share it on the clip. Yes, and
Mhm.
all well wishers, all donors are most welcome to come and support us with the vision, because this is about the African youth, and it's really about raising healthy and more responsible citizens. So it doesn't
Love
matter where an African youth is, or where, as long as you are a descendant of Africa, we will come for you, we will help you in whichever way we can.
I love that. I love that. I love your resilience. I love your courage, and I'm actually inspired, to be honest. And one word or two of, I mean, any advice that you could give to someone thinking of giving up, thinking that they can't make it, they can't dream anymore. I mean, what can you tell to such people, especially women? Because what you went through as a woman and how you came out and now you're an entrepreneur is such an inspiring story that people love to, I mean, to hear. They're definitely going to hear. But what advice can you give them?
Eme, if I could make it, if I could make it through all those challenges that I went through, which were really, some of them, when I look back, it was like a mountain. It was
Mm,
something that I couldn't. There was no way I could go around it, or jump over it. But I did. But I did. Why? It's really about the shifting of the mind. It's really
mm,
about the shifting of the mind, the power that we have as human beings, as long as we have God. It is just indescribable. We have so much power to overcome any obstacle, but we must put God first. And then, when we have God, God will bring the solution for us.
definitely, definitely. I love
Yes.
that. I love that. So, Munira, I really thank you so, so much for being part of this talk show. And I hope to see you again. And the guys who are watching and enjoying this conversation of myself and Munira through Inspire, I would like you guys to subscribe and like and share this page and let it reach millions of people. And
Yeah.
see you again in the upcoming episodes. Thank you, Manira.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
See you
Bye
next
bye.